you look at this messed up family. Had nothing going for them, man. Just your ordinary Joe Blow average neighbor that you would think everything's fine because when we would walk out, we would wave at people, but our whole lives were messed up until, I will never forget it. Now, my mom's a praying mama. And if you know anything about praying mamas get woke up at the weirdest hours by God. I'll never forget the night that God woke my mom up. It was probably, 2:30 or 3 that morning. He woke her up and he said, go down and back around my house, in the same house, back around this house, I had a vehicle. And in that vehicle, I stashed all my drugs. And I remember she woke up, she went down, she found all the drugs. And I remember as I woke up one morning, she was sitting there crying. And she had a bottle of meth. And she had a bottle of other drugs. And she said, I guess it's all over now. She said, the Lord knows, Matt. What are you going to do? My dad said, the only way I'm going to trust you, son, is if you start taking drug tests. Well, of course, again, I failed them there again. I couldn't quit getting rid of the drugs. My dad finally drove me up to a hospital right up the street. And I remember driving to the hospital, my dad pulled over the car. And he pulled over, and Dad remembers this as clear as day. He pulled over the car and he stopped it. And he said, son, you know I love you, right? And I said, yes, sir. He said, look me in my eyes today and tell me if you're still on drugs. If you're still on drugs, I'll turn this car around and I'll help you. But if you lie to me, then there will be no more help. I didn't know what he meant that day, but I thought because I took these pills to clean my system, that if I go in the hospital, I could usually, when they would do a random drug test, I could go, I dare you to take me, I dare you, and I'd provoke them, and they'd go, well, I guess he must be clean, they wouldn't take me. So I looked at my dad that day in pure confidence, and I said, well, take me then. I'm not on drugs. How dare you offend me that I'd be on drugs? Take me to the hospital. And he said, let's go. And he whipped in the hospital that day, took me straight in. I remember giving my drug test, come around Christmas Day, right around the Christmas season, they get a phone call. I'd been anticipating this phone call, waiting to hear back to see if I'd failed my drug test or not, because if I failed this one, I knew it was going to be over. I walked downstairs and my dad looked up at me real slow. My mom's bawling, crying, just saying, Larry, Larry, have mercy, Larry. And she was praying, she was wanting me to stay around. And my dad looked up at me. He slammed the phone down and he said, son, I told you I loved you. And I'll love you to the day I die. But today, you gotta go. He said, you can go call one of your little friends to come pick you up. If they're your real friends, tell them to come pick you up now. Or you're homeless. You'll be under the bridge in Roebuck. But you know what God did? And this is what blows my mind. God had so much bigger of a picture than we thought. That day I dropped to my knees. I had nothing to offer. I was the prodigal son, returned home. I had nothing to give, completely lost everything, a liar, a thief, and a drug addict. And I looked at my mom and dad, the same mom and dad that had been there through thick and thin, knelt their knee right there in that basement with me, and both of them grabbed my hands and led me to Christ. And after they led me to Jesus, I cannot explain it, but this is where God said, it's time. And I heard the call of God for my life, and His presence swept that basement, and it took me over like something I've never experienced. I've experienced every drug that they can say that's known to man. Well, nothing felt like this. Never have I felt something like this. The power, the presence, the passion of God, His arms, His mercy, His love. I was a mess, and He loved me. Out of the worst case scenario, out of America's worst family, you're looking at them, what it would have been. God had a bigger plan that one day we would all be in full-time ministry together. Now, I have a voice to a nation, now to the world. She leads all of the human videos and dramas that we do. She sings worship with me on stage in front of thousands every Tuesday night. She's the administrator and manager over 12 employed staff at our office, now over the entire headquarters at the basement. And my dad oversees all of the basement projects. He's the first you see at the basement, and He's the last you see at the basement. God has put us together for such a time as this.